Here's our timeline this afternoon. The NFLPA has filed a grievance on behalf of Eric Reid. Union statement reads in part, a club appears to have based its decision not to sign a player based on the player's statement that he would challenge the implementation of a club's policy prohibiting demonstration. Ahead on NFL Live, several rookie minicamps took place over the weekend. You'll find out which quarterbacks made the biggest first impressions. And fresh off his new 5-year deal with the Atlanta Falcons, Matt Ryan joins us to talk about the future.
Matty Ice. He's just cool under pressure.
Touchdown, Atlanta!
His play correlates to that nickname because when it gets most challenged and most tough, honestly, he's at his best.
Ryan throws. Touchdown, Atlanta! How bad does number 2 want it?
Well, it was a start at Boston College and just what the Falcons were looking for in the 2008 draft. And now Atlanta has backed up the truck to keep Matt Ryan in the building. I'm Wendy Nix, Diana Rossini, Bill Polian, Teddy Bruschi is here. And we can say hello now to the league's first $30 million a year man. Matt Ryan has signed an extension with the Falcons and in doing so becomes the first quarterback to make $30 million per season. If all goes according to plan, Ryan will be a fixture in Flowery Branch for the next 5 years. The Falcons quarterback talked about his new deal earlier today.
Yeah, obviously, I'm very excited and thankful to the Falcons organization. For having been here for 10 years and really feeling, great about my experience here the last 10 years. I think we've done some really good things. I'm excited about what's in front of us for the next 6. And beyond that, there's great people here. We've had some really good teams, but I think, the best is in front of us. And that's what has me so excited about, my future here and our future as an organization is that we have a lot of really good pieces in place. And I'm going to do everything I can to try and help this city and this organization win a championship.
With your contract and with every other subsequent big quarterback contract, do you worry at all that it might kind of hamstring a team when so much of the salary cap goes to one guy?
Well, 2 things. I think, one, it's growing. That the cap is growing. And so from a player's perspective, I think that's a really good thing. The league continues to grow and contracts for all players continue to grow. And as a player, it's a nice time. It's a really good time to be in the league because of the growth. But 2, I think we have such a good front office and we have such good guys upstairs that know how to structure and know how to set things up the correct way to ensure that we're successful for a long time. And so I never really get involved in that portion of it. Frankly, I'm not smart enough to get involved to put those numbers together. But we've got great people on our staff, and I know my agents are cognizant of that as well.
If quarterbacks earn their money in clutch time, Matt Ryan certainly has. Since entering the league in 2008, he's had more fourth quarter or overtime game-winning drives than any quarterback in the league. The number exactly 35. But his overall numbers did dip a bit last year with his completion percentage dropping 5 points and his QBR down 16. A lot of different reasons for that, which we'll talk about in just a bit. But it's Monday. It was a busy weekend around here, so everybody's a little, we gotta pick up the pace here on this Monday. So we'll do it with Overreaction Monday, and I'll start with this. Matt Ryan's best years are behind him. Diana, overreaction or not an overreaction?
I'm going to go this is an overreaction. He's going to be 33 years old next week. This is a guy who has taken the Falcons to the postseason 6 out of the 10 years that he's been at Atlanta. So he's proved that he can play and he can be successful. But let's talk about the weapons. This staff loves the wide receiver they were able to get in Calvin Ridley out of Oklahoma. Think about what they've got now in offense. Devonta Freeman, Tevin Coleman, Julio Jones, Mohamed Sanu, and then you got Ridley on the outside. You talk about how successful he was when Kyle Shanahan was running the play calling there as the offensive coordinator, and Steve Sarkisian was there last year, and we can say it was a down year for them as a tandem. but naturally he's going to be in his second season calling the plays, running that offense. And I'm told from those in that organization that they are confident that Sark and Matt Ryan can get on the same page and come together and have a successful season.
You know, they went, to your point, from first in overall scoring offense to 15th, Bill, but there's going to be a learning curve when you get a new OC. The two have to get to know each other, get used to each other. But do you think Matt Ryan's best years are behind him?
Oh, no, absolutely not. He's got probably 5 really good years ahead of him. Keep in mind, last year was a new coordinator. There was always a learning curve, as you said. Secondly, they went to the divisional round, which is darn good by anybody's standards. Third, we saw that graphic, 35 game-winning drives. That's what winning quarterbacks do. That's what great quarterbacks do. So he's now got Calvin Ridley, who gives him a genuine deep threat that they have never had before. They now have 2 streakers on the outside who can go down the field and threaten defenses, and not only threaten them, but make plays. So the future is bright for Matty Ice. I said on draft day, Matt's the happiest guy in America when they got Calvin Ridley.
He would have to be. And, you know, Matt, they call him Matty Ice for a reason. And you saw the numbers, Teddy. And to Bill's point, I think this offense probably got better with a threat that really complements the other receivers they have already.
Is it possible for him to continually put up MVP numbers like he did a couple years ago? And I think that's very possible. So I think it's an overreaction because his best years are in front of him. I mean, quarterbacks age differently. They age differently than linebackers and defensive linemen. They can play upper 30s into their 40s now that we have multiple quarterbacks that are showing us the example and leading the way. I think Matt Ryan is in that conversation, and the only way you beat MVP type numbers in those type of years is, do I think they can be competitive for a Super Bowl and win a Super Bowl being led by Matt Ryan? And I think they can. They have great young defensive players on that side of the ball. They've drafted well. Thomas Dimitroff has done a great job. So this team is going to be in the conversation, and Matt Ryan is going to be leading the way. So his best years are coming ahead.
It's a bit of a general question, Bill, but having done this, you know, how much better can an offense be when they have an offensive coordinator for a second year as opposed to the first?
A lot. Because the first year, you're going through okay, what am I doing here? What does he want in this situation? What's the exact terminology that he's looking for here? The second year, you know all of that. All that base has been laid, and now you're out there just performing. So you're going to get a whole lot better.
I look at it this way, too. If Steve Sarkisian has a good season this year, you got to figure he'll get some head coaching opportunity, possibly some interviews. But if they don't do well.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
I know, it's what, May what? Right, I'm already talking head coaching opportunities next year, but you got to figure he'll probably be out if it doesn't work this year.
And the second year of an offensive coordinator, like Bill's talking about, he was learning the players also. He's learning what's best in terms of our offensive line, their blocking schemes. What do they do best? What are my running backs and what is my quarterback like? All of that was a process this year. Not only did Matt Ryan and the offense learn from Sark, but he learned who he had on that side of the ball too.
And remember,
they'll also go back now during the offseason, take all those notes that Teddy just referred to, and they'll tweak the offense. In third down, we're going to feature this player. Second down, we're going to feature this kind of run. They'll have a much better handle on what they all can do together.
And he coached Calvin Ridley at Alabama, Steve Sarkisian. I said Oklahoma before I meant to say Alabama. So they know a little bit, something about each other as well.
They do. And Matt Ryan is joining us shortly to talk about all of this. We'll ask him about Steve Sarkisian, the second year in their offense, and also why he believes the best years are yet to come.
Let alone this season, I'll look past today.
I'm not playing well enough. Maybe I don't have it anymore.
2 Super Bowls, 100 and some wins, 300 and some. You don't even know my stats, but playing this game longer than you've probably been covering it. That's fine. They can question me. I don't question myself. The ones that are close to me don't question me. That's what matters.
Well, the Steelers certainly don't have a classic quarterback controversy on their hands, but they do have some drama at the position nonetheless. Despite his own flirtations with retirement, Ben Roethlisberger has made it clear he's sticking around and less than pleased about Mason Rudolph.
I was surprised when they took a quarterback because I thought that maybe in the third round, you can get some really good football players that can help this team now. And nothing against Mason. I think he's a great football player. I don't know him personally, but I'm sure he's a great kid. I just don't know how, backing up or being the third round, who knows where he's going to fall in the depth chart, but helps us win now. But, that's not my decision to make. That's on the coaches and the GM and owner and those kind of things. So if they feel like he can help our team, so be it. But I was a little surprised.
Mason Rudolph was on the NFL Network's Path to the Draft. He responded to what Ben Roethlisberger had to say. Hear this.
You know, if I was Ben, I'd probably say the same thing. You know, he's a competitor. You know, obviously he's a lot of confidence in himself, like I do. And yeah, I mean, he's going to be a future Hall of Famer, and I would expect him to say that. So, you know, I'm just looking forward to going in there, learning the system, you know, competing, raising my level of play, preparing like I'm the starter, even though obviously I won't be to start, and just waiting and being prepared for whenever I get my time, whenever my time comes, to be ready and take advantage of it.
Well, look, certainly on the surface, there's merit to what both these quarterbacks had to say. And Mason Rudolph was spot on, and he took the high road, as he should. But I do have a question. Teddy, I'll start with you. You're not in the quarterback room per se, but you've been around a lot of them. You know, what do you make of Ben Roethlisberger's role as a mentor in the short term?
Oh, Ben Roethlisberger as a mentor, I think he said it himself in part of that radio interview, is that I got to get myself ready to play. And that's the way quarterbacks look at it. Some quarterbacks, they really don't take to the mentor role sometimes. And if Ben Roethlisberger is somewhat irritated to this third-round selection, you know, I don't see how it would be in his best interest to waste some of his time. I don't say wasting time, but to mentor a younger quarterback, you're worrying about winning games. And I see where Ben Roethlisberger's coming from. It's just that sometimes, like when I was at the Patriots and they draft a young Gerard Mayo with the 10th overall pick. I mean, I'm at the 13th year in my career, and all of a sudden a young man comes in. I look at my watch and I realize my time is limited here because of who he was. But you still try to help out a kid. The quarterbacks, it's just a little bit different there. There's a little dynamic. Only one of them can be on the field at the same time. So it's a lot different in that room.
You agree, Bill? Different for quarterbacks?
Yes, you know, I learned a long time ago from Jim Finks, who's the Hall of Famer and the patron saint of all general managers. Players play, coaches coach, scouts scout, general managers manage, and owners own. And this idea of mentorship doesn't fly with me. And that's especially true of a quarterback, because the starting quarterback has so much to do to get ready. He can't worry about getting someone else ready. Secondly, we don't know if Mason Rudolph can play or not. We don't even know. Ben was right. We don't know if he's going to be the backup or the third. He's a raw rookie coming from a spread system. We don't know whether he has the capacity to play or not. This is not like Sam Darnold, who was drafted with the third pick in the draft. And finally, as Ben said, we're in a situation here where it's not Ben's fault that the Steelers haven't won Super Bowls in the last couple of years. It's the defense's fault. The defense has let them down time and time again. And if you look at it from his point of view, and I can see both sides, but from his point of view, where's the linebacker that we can need, that we can use to help us win now? I get it.
His point, of course, Diana, was that in the third round, there's still plenty of talent. Why not a guy who plugs in right now, plugs in plays, which we know Mason Rudolph is not that guy. That we do know for sure.
Here's the problem with it. He's sort of the boy who cries wolf. He has been saying, it seems that every offseason, I'm going to retire, maybe. I think I may come back if I'm healthy. I'm not sure. So at some point, somebody in that organization is going to take his word and believe him and say, all right, if you're not sure what we're going to do, we're going to move on and try to figure out what that future is. In terms of the mentorship that Bill's speaking to in terms of the quarterbacks, I think we see someone like a Josh McCown, who is no Ben Roethlisberger. We know that in terms of his play, his ability, and what he's been able to accomplish. But he's been so open about trying to help these quarterbacks in New York. He did it in Cleveland. That I think that's where people are comparing, seeing the difference. We're seeing it in Baltimore as well with Joe Flacco, who hasn't made any contact with Lamar Jackson. Nope. And I think that's the thing. There's a comparison right now in the league.
Would you rather have on Sunday, Big Ben or?
Right, and I'll say that too. The Pittsburgh Steelers organization will wait for Roethlisberger every offseason. You want to be emotional in February and in March and in April, go ahead and be emotional. We'll wait for you because we know you're better than half of the quarterbacks in the NFL anyway, rather than some third-round draft pick. But again, to Ben Roethlisberger's point, Emmanuel Sanders, all right, Max Starks, Mike Wallace, those are third-round draft picks for the Pittsburgh Steelers that have helped them win in the past. So there's some Pro Bowl representation in those three names right there.
And not just in the third round, in the fourth round,
That's what Ben's talking about here. I'm here. I want to win. Why aren't we all on the same page? I mean, and they're on the same page, but that's what
they're on the same page. I understand his point of view. And if I were the general manager, I would have said, hey, look, you're getting a little older. It's time for us.
Let's get some buy-in here. Yeah.
But don't forget, Jarvis Landry, who they just let go, was the very same guy as Mason Rudolph. Same offensive system, same conference, and they just let him go.
Look, here's what I'll say, and it begs the next question for Overreaction Monday then, because all of this factors in the one question you have to ask. The Steelers made the right decision in drafting a quarterback. Overreaction? Not an overreaction.
I don't think that's an overreaction because I think that Big Ben has been so whimsy about what he's doing. I think it goes back to what we're talking about. They have to move on. They have to come up with a plan. And Ron Wolf is infamous for saying it, that, you know, or at least drafting a quarterback every year, saying that quarterback is like currency. You can't have too many of them because you're going to always be able to move them for value. We've seen this. Teams are so desperate for quarterbacks. It's never going to hurt you if you have too many on your roster because you can get something out of it.
The only one you can win is the one you can win now.
All right, so you say it's not an overreaction, and you would not have drafted a quarterback.
I'm not saying I wouldn't have drafted a quarterback, but I would have been working on that defense pretty hard before I got to a quarterback.
Understood. Perhaps later, Bill?
Perhaps later, sure.
Perhaps later. All right.
Ron's not wrong.
I'll say not an overreaction. I think that the effect that you wanted, I mean, immediately from this draft pick, although it's not a contributing player, is the irritation and motivation of your current quarterback. And sometimes that's a good thing.
I was going to say, is that always bad? I don't know that it is.
To make your quarterback realize that, you know, we do have other plans that don't involve you, possibly. And quarterbacks, they get sensitive.
And
quarterbacks get sensitive, and they'll take it a little bit personally. And maybe it even improves his play. I mean, maybe that's.
I think that's true of all of us to a degree, and also of non-quarterbacks.
How many times have we seen, too, in the league, the value of a backup quarterback? Yes, we can take, obviously, in Philly, we've seen it.
He's not a backup.
He's not a backup. Nick Foles is not a backup. He's also an icon in Philly now. No, I know that. But Derek Carr 2 years ago, right? They were, Ryan Tannehill, you're talking 2 seasons ago. They go down, and look what happens to their teams. They don't have an option.
Mason Rudolph is not a backup. He hasn't proven that yet.
We'll see.
Still, so many questions. Landry Jones, by the way, still around. We met Jarvis Landry as we get through this Monday that I was talking about. That makes 3 of us. Big Ben has started 198 of a possible 224 games for the Steelers since entering the league in 2004, the 4th most in the league over that stretch. He's won 68% of those starts. Still to come on.
To the 2018 NFL Draft. With the first pick, the Cleveland Browns select Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, Josh Allen, Josh Rosen. With the 32nd pick, the Baltimore Ravens select Lamar Jackson.
And we've got history.
With the 141st pick, the Seattle Seahawks select Shaquem Griffin.
The dream continues. Shaquem and Shaquille, teammates again.
9 rookie minicamps got underway this weekend, several with young quarterbacks who could make an impact soon. Among those, the Browns and Baker Mayfield, the Jets' Sam Darnold, and Lamar Jackson at the Ravens camp. Other teams with rookie minicamps include the Packers, the Chiefs, the Vikings, Raiders, 49ers, and Seahawks. 1 week after he was drafted #1 overall by the Cleveland Browns, former Oklahoma quarterback Baker Mayfield went through his first NFL practice with his new team, the Browns among those teams holding rookie minicamp. And despite his draft status, Tyrod Taylor remains the team's starting quarterback for now.
Chief said something like yesterday, that's not going to change when he's talking about Tyrod. Does that light a fire under you? Do you take it a certain way?
I'm always competitive. It wouldn't matter what he was saying in regards to the competition. I'm still going to compete and try and win that job. And so I'm going to listen to him, but I got to go compete. And first and foremost, I got to learn my job. Earning the respect of the older guys is important. It's just like I said yesterday, I have to know my job first. And then from there, I can, do everything else.
Overreaction Monday continues with this. Baker Mayfield will redshirt, if you will, this season. Diana?
I do not. That's an overreaction. I do not think he will not step on the field. I think Baker Mayfield's going to get on the field because he's a #1 overall pick. Also, I mean, they're saying Tyrod Taylor is the starter here. And let's just take a look at Hugh Jackson's past here. Remember when he said DeShone Kizer is the starter? They were rolling with him. They were going to take him out. Well, Kaiser's now in Green Bay, right? That didn't work out. He had him start, then he took him out, had him start. It was a little bit of a disaster there. So the commitment Hugh Jackson has, not very dependable, probably as dependable as your flights that you were taking this past weekend. But
those were definitely not dependable.
Being said, this is a city that doesn't just need wins. This is a city that needs hope, and it seems that they're all in on Baker Mayfield, giving them just that.
Well, and Bill, you can certainly speak to the pressure from the ownership level on down when you have a #1 overall draft pick. I hear everything that's being said. I happen to agree with most of it, but I'm not sure it matters.
Well, first of all, if you're in a decision-making position, the head coach and or the general manager, and you'd accede to the head coach, by the way, in most circumstances, the answer is the #1 pick plays when he's ready, and that's a decision that only the coaches can make and the people that are on the GMs on the field, in most cases, understands what's going on. Tyrod Taylor will be hard to beat out because he is a good quarterback. And he's a professional quarterback. And he will have a big, big leg up on Baker Mayfield. And the only way Baker Mayfield gets in early is, I think, either Tyrod gets hurt, and I hope that doesn't happen, and secondly, that everything goes bad. Otherwise, I think he'll sit for a while.
Let me ask you this, Bill, because you have so much experience in this league, but how much does the percentage of error go up if other people get involved in this type of decision, other people than the guys on the field who ought to be making it?
Exponentially.
Exponentially.
Because the other people simply don't know, and they're reacting to outside pressures, stories, fan engagement, things of that nature. Marv Levy once said, and he was quoting Johnny Redker, great broadcaster for the Chicago Bulls in the old days, if you listen to the fans, you'll soon sit next to them.
Yeah, that's my favorite. You'll soon sit with them. It's the truth, too.
I agree with Bill saying. I'm going overreaction. I don't think he's going to play early. I don't think he's going to be a week 1 starter. But eventually this season, I think Cleveland is going to put him on the field. Now, I think we're just talking about self-control here, sticking to the plan, those type of things in terms of Cleveland and where they see Baker Mayfield being as a player and what Tyrod Taylor gives them. Tyrod Taylor, I've also respected as a quarterback, and everywhere Tyrod's been, his teammates have gravitated towards him too. That's important, that locker room has the support of the quarterback, and if he does and they win some games, maybe it is possible.
By the way, a guy I know and that Teddy knows who's probably won more games than anybody who works in New England rarely, if ever, bows to fan or media pressure. And he's done okay.
I can't imagine who you're speaking of. It doesn't come to me off the top of my head, but I bet you're right.
Belichick.
That
just
guy.
Came to me.
That guy, all right. Well, speaking of Belichick, he spent some time with the New York Jets, a team that traded up in the draft to make sure they got their quarterback. That quarterback, it turns out, is USC's Sam Darnold, who also joined his new team for rookie minicamp over the weekend.
He was great. I want him to play right now. He was good, He obviously we threw the ball around a little bit, and he'll be getting better.
What is it about that podium? It's something about that podium in New York just sparks.
It's the air.
It is. It was not hot. You know that.
By the way, Todd handles it great.
I love Todd Bowles. I do. It's so obviously tongue firmly planted in cheek because we have a long way to go. But here's what I'll say, Teddy, and I'll start with you for Overreaction Monday. Sam Darnold will be the first rookie quarterback to start. Not to play.
I don't want Coach Bowles yelling at me.
I jumped out of my seat when I heard him.
I'm going overreaction.
Fair enough.
With Josh McCown and the development of Sam Darnold, it's going to be a little process for him. I'm taking that route, especially after I see the head coach tell me that. So I'm going to say it's an overreaction. Great young player in Sam Darnold. Yes, Jet fans are very, very excited. But I definitely see Todd Bowles as the one that'll stick to the plan. And like Bill's talking about, he'll be one that says to himself, he's not going to play until he's ready.
I'm afraid that, unfortunately, he may get on the field simply because in Josh's case, and I hope this doesn't happen, he's got a history of some injuries. So, you get an injury, then you got to put Darnold in there. And I'm afraid that may happen.
What about Teddy Bridgewater?
Well, we'll see what Teddy does. Right now he's an unknown quantity because of the injury.
Yeah.
And it's a serious injury. If Teddy's able to go, all bets are off.
Yeah.
Teddy plays.
It's interesting because we have these discussions about which quarterback will play and when these rookie quarterbacks will start. This is all dependent on the health of the starting quarterback. I mean, these dictums, if you will, can change in an instant, in a snap.
Well, Tyrod for example, has no history of injury. He's got minor nicks and things, but no major injuries. In Teddy's case, unfortunately,
That's a
and in
different
Todd's
situation.
case, unfortunately, there is that.
And I'm with the guys on it being an overreaction that he'll be the first rookie quarterback to get in there because Josh McCown is such a great game manager. He's got the confidence. He's got the experience. He's poised. He understands how it works. He understands how it works in New York, too. And I'm also with Bill on the idea that, New York isn't a very patient city. We know what the New York Post and the Daily News is going to put on the back page if this team starts the season, losing one or two, maybe even 3 games at the start of the year. They're going to be calling for for Sam Darnold immediately. So Todd Bowles, though, has shown that he's disciplined and he'll probably most likely stick with the plan. But I don't think Sam Darnold's going to be the first rookie we see out there.
Well, a little bit of humor never hurt either, and clearly Todd Bowles has that. So that's
even know.
Keep it up. We'll do one more, shall we? Lamar Jackson received optimistic reviews for his performance in rookie minicamp with the Baltimore Ravens. And while the Ravens also maintain their commitment to their starter, that's Joe Flacco, the team is clearly looking for ways to get Jackson the football.
Well, the NFL is totally different from college. It's a lot faster. You got to work as a unit. It's fun out here, though. I'm having fun, so yeah, it's cool. You enter in a new system, it's fun to learn. And you're doing something you love. So. Different drop backs, being understanding a lot more than I was in college, so yeah.
Yeah, and until you put your eyes on a guy on your practice field, I don't think it's all just your imagination up until that point. And the thing I was really impressed with is I thought he was accurate. You read the reports and stuff like that, but he's a naturally talented thrower. He's got natural arm talent. So that's something that I think people were questioning. So to see him out here throwing the ball naturally, very accurately, I thought was a big plus.
All right, work with us on this. It is Overreaction Monday. That's why we call it so, Bill. But your turn to strike first here. The Ravens have a quarterback controversy brewing.
I don't think it's an overreaction because quarterback controversies, by definition, come from the outside, from the media and fans. As long as you don't have one inside, you're okay. You can survive it. But Lamar is going to be on the field almost from day one with a run-pass option and a spread kind of package where he can feature his ability with the ball in his hands, which may be the best in last year's draft. He and Saquon Barkley are in a class by themselves. Nobody else is close. So he'll be on the field early, and he'll be doing spectacular things early. So I don't think there's any question that that's going to lead to drum beats, especially if the team doesn't play well.
Fair enough. And when you see that sort of raw athletic ability and those things he can do that other quarterbacks just can't simply by nature of the beast, you're right, that drum, it crescendos.
I'm going to go, Bill, too, on it's not an overreaction. And you bring up that the quarterback controversies come from the outside, as long as it's not in the meeting room, it's not in the building. But, Lamar Jackson told reporters that Joe Flacco, RG3, either of those quarterbacks there in Baltimore have reached out to him just yet. Quite the different story. I was in New York on Friday, and, you talked to Sam Darnold, and he's been in touch with Josh McCown the second he got drafted. So we don't really know if there is a controversy yet, between Flacco and them, but he doesn't sound like he's too happy about this. That said, Teddy touched on it before, the motivation that this will give Joe Flacco. The last time we saw him under pressure was when he was on that contract year, and we saw what he was able to produce. So maybe this is a good push for Joe Flacco to work a little harder. There are many out there that have said that he hasn't done enough to get this team ready, especially on offense. So now with having another weapon, and maybe this is also another message to the rest of the organization that Joe Flacco's time is up, that Lamar Jackson could possibly be the future here.
Yeah, this Wendy, this is real. This is real.
You
this
think
is,
so?
This is
I
not an
am
overreaction.
surprised. I thought
it's
you'd both say it was not an overreaction.
No,
that it was an overreaction.
Bill's right. The quarterback controversy, of course, is going to come from outside, but everyone, this is the most spectacular football player in college football for the past 2 years. I mean, seeing what he did, especially 2 years ago when he won that Heisman, is just eye-opening. You've got it there. When he comes on the field for those package of plays that Bill is talking about, and he goes out there and runs for 50-yard touchdown, or he throws it 50 yards in the air on the run, people are going to see that and think, and they're going to see Joe Flacco's mentality and remember the struggles that they've had offensively, especially last year. It's going to be brewing. It's already brewing right now. It's like I said, motivation to the number one quarterback. Flacco has to come out strong. Flacco has to establish himself as the starter. This is something where everyone, even the players on the Ravens, will be watching, and Flacco comes off the field. Here comes Lamar Jackson. They may all stand up just to watch because they also feel that excitement that Lamar Jackson brings.
Well, the last time Joe Flacco bet on himself, good things happened. So time to roll the dice again. In what had to be one of the feel-good stories of this year's draft, UCF's Shaquem Griffin joined his twin brother Shaquille in Seattle, reunited again after their college careers. The newest Seahawk also joined his teammates for rookie minicamp over the weekend.
It's a tremendous honor to be here, and it's been a great experience so far. Being able to meet new guys and being able to interact with the coaches, and it's everything that I thought about. You know, having the coaches, having that family vibe, and they're not here to get mad at you. They're here to coach you and make you a better player. I feel pretty comfortable there. I mean, when I was at UCF, I played in a lot of different positions, so I don't feel uncomfortable moving around. And I feel like what they put me at right now is a pretty good fit. And it doesn't matter where I play at, as long as I get an opportunity to help better my team in any aspect I play anything.
Also in Seattle, Pete Carroll says he isn't sure when Earl Thomas will be back. Carroll's comments confirm that Thomas, who is seeking a new contract, has not been there for the voluntary portion of the Seahawks offseason program. Attendance, by the way, is not mandatory until Seattle's veteran minicamp, which takes place from June 12th to the 14th. Here's what Coach Carroll had to say. We'll find out. We've got to communicate. Phase 2 doesn't look like it's suiting him right now, so we'll see. We'll see what's happening. Phase 3 is around the corner for us, so we'll see. We've got one more week of Phase 2. File that under to be continued. No doubt about that. Here on Overreaction Monday, here's what I'll say. Earl Thomas will not be a Seahawk in 2018. Is that an overreaction?
I'm going to start with this saying that it is an overreaction. I think he will be with Seattle, and this just talking to those in the Seattle organization, including their GM, who has said since the combine when I sat and talked with him, we are not looking to trade him. Are we listening to offers? Yes, they wouldn't be doing their jobs if they weren't listening to offers. But there was a determination in his voice that he wanted to keep him, and we were just talking about the value of what Earl Thomas means to Seattle and how much they need him. It sounded like it was going to take a lot, and at this point, it doesn't seem like there's going to be a deal that's going to be struck there.
Bill?
He's going to be there.
He's not, so overreaction to say he's not.
And there's no reason for him to be there now because he's coming off a bad injury. He's probably just in the position where he doesn't really feel good about going out there. So bottom line, he'll be there.
Again, not mandatory until mid-June.
Yeah, I don't see it either. I think it's an overreaction. Earl Thomas, to me, has been the bus driver of the Legion of Boom. And I think Pete knows that. I think the organization knows that. Him at that center field position, the way he tackles, the way he leads. They know how important he is. I think Earl Thomas, he's 29 years old.
He's still young.
29 years old, yes, and he's going to be in Seattle.
And they've seen a lot of familiar faces depart. Wouldn't hurt to have some consistency, to have one of those guys who's a veteran in that locker room stick around. I agree. If you want to be celebrating fantasy this season, well, guess what? Teddy, what do you have to have? The right quarterback.
Please.
Give me a when NFL Live returns, Matthew Berry lays out his top fantasy
rankings question. Secret Squirrel, Daniel Dopp. What's our first question about this year's quarterback crop?
First question comes from me, actually. I noticed that you guys have Jimmy Garoppolo, who only had like 5 good games last year, inside the top 10. Doesn't that feel like it's kind of high?
Yeah, I understand the concerns that Jimmy Garoppolo could be nothing more than an extremely handsome flash in the pan, like Secret Squirrel.
Hey.
Sorry, dude. Look, 5 starts, not a big sample size, right? But in those 5 starts from weeks 13 through week 17 last year, Garoppolo was top 8 in the NFL in attempts, completions, passing yards, and fantasy points. And that was with just a small segment of Kyle Shanahan's playbook under his belt and a lot of injured starters not available. Now, with a full offseason in the system, getting Pierre Garçon back, an improved offensive line, and adding a good pass-catching running back in Jerick McKinnon, Garoppolo in line for a huge year, I personally have him as my QB number 9. Wouldn't be surprised if he finishes even higher. All right, Secret Squirrel, what's next?
Our next question comes from our injury minion, Marcello. Oh, yeah, I forgot this idiot can't talk. Sorry about that. I think what he's trying to say is there are 3 quarterbacks with fairly major injury concerns inside the top 9. I mean, doesn't it seem kind of risky taking a quarterback that early with that?
Well, why are you asking me? That's a Stefania Bell question. Stefania, you around here?
Hey, guys.
Hey, Stefania.
Well, you know, Carson Wentz thinks he'll be ready to go by week 1, and he could be. But after having 2 ligaments surgically repaired in his knee, he could require a little extra time to be game ready. Now, Deshaun Watson's been through this whole ACL rehab process before and came back a winner while he was at Clemson. He should be ready to go by camp. But the big question, Andrew Luck. It's been 16 months since he had his shoulder surgically repaired, and after he shut it down last year, he went to Europe for extra therapy. He went to work with the throwing coach. But until we see him throw the football on the field, hard to be certain.
All right, thanks, Stefania. And I think that's one reason why he's down in the top 10. If he's fully healthy, you know he's a top 4 guy. All right, Secret Squirrel, what's next?
All right, final question, Matthew, is for me. As we all know, I was the breakthrough star in fantasy football media in 2017.
Really? Because I voted for someone else.
How dare you? Anyways, is there anyone in this list of second-tier quarterbacks that you think could break into the top 10? Here you have a list of quarterbacks 11 through 20.
And you see how deep the quarterback position is this year with all these huge names right before you. All these guys are studs, frankly. It's such a deep position. But if you're asking me for one guy that could be this year's Carson Wentz, how about Pat Mahomes? Remember the guy Mahomes is replacing in Kansas City, Alex Smith, was quarterback 4 last year. It's a fantasy-friendly offense. They added Sammy Watkins. He's got a cannon for an arm. He can run. Yeah, give me some Patrick Mahomes as a QB2 with upside. And remember, all of our rankings are live right now on ESPN.com. And for an exclusive behind-the-scenes look at how we set the rankings, we have 5 Fantasy Football Now specials on ESPN+.
You sure do. Just a reminder, 5 new episodes of Fantasy Football now available on ESPN+ and streaming exclusively on the ESPN app. ESPN's Draft Academy, this 8-part documentary, a personable behind-the-scenes look into the lives of quarterbacks Sam Darnold, Josh Allen, defensive back Minkah Fitzpatrick, and Shaquem Griffin. The first 6 episodes are available now on ESPN+, streaming exclusively on the ESPN app as well. Former Cowboys receiver Dez Bryant has had a bit of a reality check. He was released by the Cowboys last month, but remains unsigned. Despite his continued efforts to find a place to play, he reportedly turned down a multi-year deal with the Ravens in hopes of signing a 1-year deal to prove his worth, but so far, those efforts have come up short. Here's what Cole Beasley had to say. I've seen the things going around the teams won't even sign him for a minimum. I'm like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I don't know if it's just rumors, what he is off the field or in the locker room. Dez was always a great teammate to me, and he did want to see other guys succeed. Every wide receiver wants the rock, and he's so passionate it may come off the wrong way to some people. He definitely still has it. He's got all the tools. Now he has a chip on his shoulder. He's an animal already. It's scary. If he gets to another team and he gets that shot, I promise you, he's going to be ready. More from Overreaction Monday. Dez Bryant, the best free agent available. Dez Bryant is the best free agent available. Diana.
I think that's an overreaction because if you take a look at the free agents that are available right now, the name that rings or at least stands out to me is safety Eric Reed. At 26 years old, he's smart, he's durable, he's got good ball skills, plays multiple positions. I talked to a coach of his, started 69 out of 70 games in his career, and this would be the start of his second contract. So if you're going to talk about who is the best free agent out there right now, not based on position, just who is available, I think Eric Reed right now is the best free agent.
Listen, Cole Beasley, not the first person to point out that Dez was a good teammate, that he did have a lot of passion that sometimes perhaps got misdirected or misunderstood. But Teddy, in your opinion, is it an overreaction to say he's the best free agent available?
I'm going to say that's not an overreaction. I mean, to have a motivated Dez Bryant possibly come in on that 1-year prove-it deal that he wants. I mean, that could be a bargain for you, and you can have a Dez Bryant that wants to prove himself. And those type of veterans that come in and still think they have so much left in the tank, does he? Probably not. but still having that mentality and that motivation does factor into why I say this, because he wants to come in and prove that he isn't washed up. That's why I say this.
Bill?
My old mentor, Marv Levy, used to say, compared to what? So
fair. And in this case, that's what we're doing.
Yeah, who's out there in the marketplace. I think that at this stage of his career, Dez is going to have to take a one-year prove-it contract. I think he's going to be in a category we used to call VDT, veteran disaster type. He's going to be in a position where somebody's going to lose someone due to injury, maybe a couple of players due to injury, and then he can find the right fit. But it's not going to come with a hefty price tag, and I'm not sure that his days of top production aren't done.
And there are a lot of young players now that have been drafted as wide receivers that all these teams are looking at now. These undrafted free agents, they want to get a gauge. They know what you're getting. You know what you're getting in Dez Bryant, okay? Emotional, passionate, veteran receiver. You've got all these young guys you want to make a conclusion on even before you go to the Dez Bryant route. That's why Bill's exactly right when he's going to have to wait a little bit to get signed.
I don't think anyone expected the market to be what the Cowboys would have had to pay for him. Those days are over. But, Bill, are you surprised that the market's been as soft as it has been for Dez Bryant? Or
no. What you see on film is a player whose salad days are behind him, and he's going to have to readjust his thinking. If I were him, I'd be thinking about a one-year prove-it contract somewhere.
Well, he will be motivated. I think that point is well taken. So we'll see. Some news and notes from around the weekend. Browns rookie Denzel Ward missed Saturday's rookie minicamp due to a hip injury. He was, if you remember, the 4th overall pick in the draft. Bryce Petty wasn't out of work too long. He'll stay in the AFC East after being claimed off waivers by the Dolphins, and the Seahawks' busy offseason continues after they release veteran defensive end Cliff Averill. When NFL Live returns, we're joined by Matt Ryan. He's getting set. We'll ask him about that new contract and what to expect under year 2 of Steve Sarkisian. That's next when we come back.
Shoes off, belts off.
That's why I wear Skechers slip-on shoes. They're comfortable, and they come in a variety of styles. They slip on and off easily as well.
You're Tony Romo.
Yeah.
You still gotta lose the belt. Come on.
Slip into comfort with Skechers slip-ons.
Joy, what's up?
Hey, Thomas.
What you doing?
Mother's Day shopping.
Okay.
Any ideas?
Well, everyone wants the iPhone, and they want it on Verizon, America's largest, most reliable 4G LTE network. And right now, if you buy one, you get another one on Verizon.
I already did. I was talking about the card.
Yeah, I know that. Come on.
Nope. Wow. Still don't love it.
This Mother's Day, get the latest iPhone and get iPhone 8 on us. No trade-in required, because unlimited is only as good as the network it's on.
Got an idea. There are more threats in today's digital universe. That's why Norton and LifeLock now fight as one to protect you more against threats like malware and identity theft. It takes the right team to fight threats in today's digital universe.
From the Super Bowl. And then last Friday, Matt Ryan signed his 5-year, $150 million deal. His $100 million guaranteed, the most among all current contracts. He's locked up through 2023. Matt Ryan joins us now. And Matt, first of all, congratulations are in order. I know it's a good thing to get this behind you, but when you think about this deal and the next 5 years with the Falcons, what's your first reaction?
I'm excited. I feel like we've got a lot of really good young players, a great coaching staff, some really good pieces on the offensive side of the ball, a defense that's young and improving, played lights out the second half of last year. And so there's a lot of really good things going on with our organization right now. And for me to be a part of it, for a long time to come is exciting.
Before we look forward, let's look back for just a minute. A bit of a letdown in 2017, especially offensively. Is it too simplistic to call it a Super Bowl hangover? What happened, in your opinion?
Well, I think we're a little bit inconsistent. We did a lot of really good things. I think we led the league in third downs last year, which is always tough to do, but that's an important stat in terms of winning games. We just didn't score enough points when we had opportunities in the red zone. And so that's a point of emphasis for us this year. If we can be a little bit better at scoring touchdowns when we get our chances in the red area, I think that'll help our offense be a little bit more explosive. But we gave ourselves a chance in the playoffs last year, ran into a really good Philadelphia team, played them tough up there, but fell a little bit short. So we're excited about the opportunity in 18, and we feel like we've got a really good team coming back.
You also have an offensive coordinator that you'll be with for the second year. Last year was the first with Steve Sarkisian, and I know there's always a learning curve. That's just how it works. What's different about year 2 working with an offensive coordinator?
Well, I think, one of the biggest differences is how much further along we are in the offseason portion of it. Last year, a lot of it was kind of getting on the same page and learning, some of the things that he's done in the past and how we did things here in Atlanta. So there was a lot of that going on last year. I think this year we both have a much better feel for each other. And Sark has a really good feel for the personnel groupings and the talent that we have on our roster. So I feel like we're a lot further ahead. And I think that'll lead to us playing some better football next year.
I would guess as a quarterback, you never mind it when your team drafts a highly talented wide receiver, which is what the Falcons did with Calvin Ridley out of Alabama. How does he fit in? And I know it's early. Where do you see Ridley fitting into your offense?
Well, I think he'll fit in great. One, he's an excellent player. We've gotten to see him play plenty. I mean, Alabama's on TV every week, so we got to see him play a lot. I think he's a great route runner. I think he'll fit in well with the guys that we have. Obviously, you have Julio on one side. We have Mohamed Sanu, who can play outside and inside, and I think Calvin will be a nice change up to those two guys and really give us some diversity at that position and to be able to line up in some 3 wide receiver sets and stretch a defense both vertically and horizontally pretty well.
He does seem to be a good compliment. And speaking of Julio, much has been made about the fact that he took all his photos off Instagram that related to the Atlanta Falcons. What do you make of that?
I don't make much of it. I think that, one, he's been the best teammate that you could ask for in the time that I've been able to play with him. Yeah, he works extremely hard. He's unbelievably talented. He's extremely unselfish. And nobody takes better care of themselves or has themselves better prepared to play than he does. So we're fortunate to have him a part of this organization for sure. And you know what, as far as deleting posts or whatever on social media, I think he made some comments before about how that doesn't define who he is. And, I'm not a huge social media guy either, so I understand where he's coming from on that. But he's going to be a huge part of what we do for this organization for a long time moving forward, and he's going to have a great year next year.
All right, before we switch gears to things off the field, let me ask you this. If there's one adjustment, one thing you'd like to see this offense do that maybe you fell short on last season, what would it be?
It's scoring touchdowns in the red area. I don't think we were effective enough with the number of opportunities that we had down there of coming away with the amount of points we should have. And so that's the big point of emphasis for us this year. It's about finding ways to get the ball in the end zone, whether it be through the run game, scoring from outside the red area, but also when we get our chances in there throwing the football, we got to be effective with that as well.
All right, I haven't talked to you since then, so I get a chance to ask. One of my favorite things last year was seeing you dressed up as a salesman in the Falcons team store in downtown Atlanta with Jack Collinsworth. And the irony, of course, I mean, you were disguised, to be fair, but you pulled it off. Were you surprised that no one caught on? It's so funny.
Yeah, I mean, the get-up was pretty good. But, yeah, it was fun to be able to do that. Jack was amazing. I mean, you realize how good he is at what he does and how fun he made that day. But it was, yeah, the disguise was pretty good, and it was pretty fun to try and fool those people in there. I had a blast doing it.
You've had a pretty good run, my friend, because not only the new deal, but also, of course, you and your wife recently welcomed twins. So first of all, big congratulations. Listen, it's not easy. So I'm going to ask you this, because I know my answer, although I haven't had to learn an NFL playbook. But which is more difficult, learning an NFL playbook or trying to put together a stroller, especially for twins?
Putting together a stroller is like the hardest possible thing you can do. I struggle with any of those things. I'm not the most handy of people, but you do what you got to do for your kids. I tried my best.
You do your best. I'm convinced it's like a parent test, though. They make it nearly impossible. So you have some pretty good company in struggling with the stroller, Matt. But we wish you the best of luck and are super excited to see what's in store for the Falcons in 2018.
Thank you, Wendy. I appreciate it.
You know what? With that kind of money, he can buy a fully assembled stroller.
I know, why
a couple
not?
of them. So we're not going to feel too sorry for him, nevertheless. Listen, let's talk about these NFC South quarterbacks. Really an interesting bunch. all talented, supremely talented, in fact. But if you had to win one game, Teddy, who are you taking?
I think the obvious decision for me is Drew Brees. I mean, Drew Brees is the one that not only has all the ability the way he is in the pocket, but the clutch gene that some have that others don't. I just think it's Drew that stays cool under pressure. He's done it. He's shown it in the biggest of games, and he succeeded in the Super Bowl also. So Drew Brees is the one I'd go first and foremost to win a game.
He's the only one with the quarterback ring. I mean, with the Super Bowl ring, right?
He succeeded against our team, so you know who I'm going
well,
for. Right.
Fair
when
enough.
the money was on the line, Drew Brees did it, so he would be my choice.
Again, a new 2-year deal to remain in New Orleans, which we all expected. He'll finish his career there as he should. D?
Yeah, I think if we're talking one game, Drew, I'm in agreement with the guys here that if it's one game, it's Drew Brees. Now, the future, that could be a whole other discussion because Drew Brees at 39 years old, we don't know how much longer he's going to be able to go and how much longer he'll be in New Orleans. But I think where it gets a little dicey.
One game this year.
One game, yeah.
One game this
We're
year.
not saying one game
But
3 years from now.
Where it gets dicey is number 2, right? Because my thought was, all right, well, Matt, and Teddy brought up a good point earlier today, but what about Cam Newton? You know, you got North Turner down there running the offense now. They added some pieces on offense to give him some weapons. Could this be the year we see Cam back to the way we saw him a few years ago?
You heard Matt Ryan talk about it, that struggle of the Atlanta Falcon offense in getting the football in the end zone when they're in the red area. I mean, they were 23rd last year in red zone offense, and I just think I'd lean towards Cam right now because being a former defensive player, the more things I have to prepare for when I have Cam Newton, especially in that red zone, the quarterback powers, the runs, the scrambles, and him running for it. After I've been in man coverage for 2 to 3 to 4 seconds, all of a sudden now Cam Newton can run for the touchdown. He just has, I think there's more creativity within Cam's game to finish in the red zone.
Can he return to that MVP caliber player we saw?
You're talking about Cam?
About Cam.
Absolutely. I think it's possible for him to get acclimated. Now McCaffrey's going into his second year. So, yes, that offense can be very productive for Cam again.
I think if the red zone discussion is a good one. The way to win in the red zone is to run the football. Now, whether you run it with the quarterback, which scares the living daylights out of defensive coaches and defensive players, because we've never before in the history of the National Football League accounted for the quarterback as a ball carrier.
Right, 11 on 11.
11 on
right,
11. That's
right.
never happened before in the NFL. And with the advent of Cam, it did. But my question is, at this stage of his career with the injuries he's had, can he continue to do it? Secondly, if he's not going to do it as the principal guy, who can? It is not McCaffrey. I don't think he's a great red zone runner. So they're going to have to manufacture. Conversely, Matt actually did win the game when it was one game. The play calling did not end up putting them on the winning side, but he made the winning play. So therefore, that coupled with the running attack that they have, I'd lean toward Matt.
I do think the addition of Calvin Ridley is a good one. He seems like a good complement to what they've got there with Julio and Mohamed Sanu. And you heard Matt talk about it. It seems that way. But again, it's May. We'll see. The NFC South, by the way, the only division with 3 primary starting quarterbacks who have taken their team to a Super Bowl. Hey, speaking of taking us somewhere, I love this. Bill and Teddy's excellent adventure will power forward in the time machine.
Time machine time.
Time machine. Well, Baker Mayfield started the run, and then there were 4 quarterbacks taken in the top 10 in the NFL draft. And now we're curious. You know, everybody's talking about who's going to have the best season, who will start first. This is good news. You know why? We have a time machine here. Hall of Fame GM Bill Polian and Teddy Bruschi are able to travel into the future.
Yes, we are.
It's May 7th. We're going to jump on in and power our way to December 31st. That is the end of the regular season. This is just like Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, except these guys are a lot smarter, so it works out.
G-force has got me.
But yeah. All right. Get your bearings, okay? Because here's what I'm going to ask you now that we're here at the end of the regular season. We'll talk first about the quarterback, the rookie quarterback who had the best year. Teddy.
I'll go with my man up in New York. Okay, New York. I've seen it, of course.
I've seen it, of course.
I mean, it's Sam Darnold for me of the New York Jets. I mean, he had such a great situation. coming in after the draft, and then having Josh McCown to mentor him. Josh McCown did have some injuries over the course of the year. Then in came Darnold. They brought him in slowly. They brought him in right. The defense really did some great work for him, and Darnold ended up having a great rookie year thanks to a strong defense, so I'll go with the Darnold.
Only Teddy could credit a quarterback for the best year by giving credit to the defense. Okay, Bill, who was it? The rookie quarterback with the best first year?
The rookie quarterback with the best first year and the most spectacular year is Lamar Jackson of the Baltimore Ravens, because he's going to get on the field from day one in a quarterback-centric option package, RPOs, spread option, read option, and his running skills are going to set the world on fire.
Okay, well done, these two. Congratulations. Offensive rookie who had a Rookie of the Year type season, Teddy.
We all predicted this, Wendy. We knew it was going to happen, and it was Saquon Barkley.
He
had a great year. I was just surprised at his kick returning skills when he took those 4 kickoffs back for a touchdown.
Wow,
it was incredible. It's a landslide to me how this guy had such a great year running the football, put the New York Giants back on the map. There they are, looking great this time of the year because of this young rookie.
Bill?
Well, I had to dig deep into the old Karnak machine here because
going down to
Teddy
Atlanta,
got me with Saquon Barkley. So it's going to be Calvin Ridley. And defensive coordinators around the league are not going to know what to do with thunder and lightning, Julio and Calvin. It will be a touchdown parade between those two. Matty Ice got the new contract, and he's the happiest man in the NFL to get Calvin Ridley.
He got a new contract. He got a new receiver. All right, Teddy. Here we go. Here's your defense. A defensive rookie with a Rookie of the Year type year.
Well, defensive rookie for me, I mean, he had a great year at linebacker for the Chicago Bears, Roquan Smith.
Oh, yes,
I mean, everybody thought coming in, this is the leader that they needed on defense, and he didn't disappoint. For 16 games, there from the beginning, just leading this defense, led them in tackles, led all rookies in tackles. Great young rookie linebacker that finally, the middle linebacker is back in Chicago. Roquan Smith got the Rookie of the Year defensively.
Bill?
Well, I'm taking Bradley Chubb, the defensive end from North Carolina State. He is going to come in and make an impact right away rushing the passer because he can get there, and guess what? He's got a guy on the other side named Von Miller who's going to get some attention, so he's going to be singled up a lot, and he's going to make an impact.
All right, you guys staying in December, or are you coming back with us? Your choice.
It's a little cold.
It's a little chilly. You know, it's just fun.
We'll go
Okay.
back.
All right, come on, come on.
We want golf season.
Well, speaking of golf season, what a busy sports weekend. There was stuff going on everywhere. The Kentucky Derby, of course, the NBA and the
It's good to be
NHL.
back.
No jam fingers to report, so that's good. Listen.
No, he knows how to. He knows how to.
Yeah, well, you think? I think he's got this.
He's got it.
It was a busy weekend, right? So there was the Kentucky Derby. There was any number of things going on. Teddy, how did you spend your weekend?
2 words, playoff hockey.
Oh, boy. Bruins
Right.
captain.
Playoff hockey.
Again, just like the rest of us, Teddy Bruce.
Look at that. Got the
Honorary
wave, the
captain
flag,
of the
get the
Boston
fan
Bruins.
banner going.
Wow, Teddy, look at that enthusiasm. Was that flag heavy?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. Had my
Listen.
13-year-old son Dante with me. He brought a couple friends. I mean, oh man, it was so many cookies they ate.
You
It
know
was
when
unbelievable.
you feel old? I remember when Dante was born, and I feel like it was like last week. It does not make, Dante's 13?
Yes.
Well, there you go. Bill Polian, let's move on from there. The Derby, I believe, yes? The
I
Kentucky
went to the
Derby?
Kentucky Derby. The Hall of Fame had a bunch of people there.
How about that?
There
Pro
we
Football
are.
Hall of Fame?
And we had a ball. It's an absolutely marvelous experience. There's Mrs. Polian in front.
I see
And,
Mrs. Polian.
We just had a ball. It's an exciting event, never been before, and a great Derby race. Justified, put on an unbelievable performance on a sloppy track.
It did. The sloppy track was making me nervous. Listen, we've got, Patriots Hall of Famer, Bill Polian Hall of Famer. Our own Diana Rossini entered her high school Hall of Fame this weekend.
This is pathetic.
4 sports.
All right,
4
Diana.
different sports. So how about this?
First of all, why is it
Soccer,
black and white?
basketball,
I'm not that old.
softball, and track?
Yeah,
Is that right?
all 4 sports.
there's your
So
color
that's,
photo.
there we go.
That's
We're
a
back in the color.
scary
There you go.
face right there.
I don't understand why my picture's not
That
up. I
is-
was in wine country.
That is Brian Dunn to the right of me. That was my basketball coach. He's also the football coach there. They won multiple state titles there in Northern Valley, Ultapani, New Jersey. But it was a really cool moment. And it was fun to just reflect on my teammates and my coaches and the experiences and how much sports have helped me. And now I get to do this.
Yeah, listen. I'm not going to lie. I feel like a loser.
Congratulations, Diana.
All we did was not work out. All right. The jump is next.
Congratulations.
Thanks.